Virtually every kitchen we produce with Conestoga, people are looking for trash pullouts. They're just convenient to have next to your sink, your scrapings, and into your dishwasher. So people always want a trash pullout in the kitchen, and Conestoga has multiple options. Over the years, they've added one from a company called Hayfula, which I have to my left, we'll discuss in a minute. And now they've added a new one called their easy or ready to install bottom mount trash pullout. The video is going to be focusing on this unit, the new one, but I want to talk to you about the old one that we were using and why we think this new one's a little bit better. So let me just break over to my left here. This is the Hayfula unit, okay? So it is a soft close unit, very nice, good action on it. And you're probably wondering why we decided to move away from this unit when someone doesn't specifically request it, but they want a trash pullout. The reason we're not pushing this one anymore, it's a little bit of a trickier install for the average homeowner. And we've had some people have issues trying to get the mechanism to grab at the bottom. How do I get the trash units out to clean the carriage when it gets full of muck? That kind of thing. So we've just, from a ease of use standpoint, we found this one to be a little trickier. Some people also didn't like the color of the cans because they're not traditional white. They're kind of a gray, taupey kind of color. So this is the Hayfula one. If you want this unit, it's called the bottom mount trash pullout. That's what we're going to call it. It's in the literature for Conestoga. We're happy to sell that one to you. As I move to my right, the one we're really going to focus on now is this new unit. It's a wood unit. You can see it's got this blonde maple wood. It's plywood with an edge band on it, dovetailed on the edges, and it's very, very sturdy. And what we like about it is it's so easy to install. It uses a traditional, almost like a bloom mechanism where you grab a handle on both sides and just lift the carriage right out. You have traditional white tall kitchen cans. And the really nice thing, aside from the ease of installation, is that you can get this unit with a 35 quart pails shown here, or if you opt for a full door cabinet, remove the drawer front and do a full door cabinet, you can get 50 quart cans, which is really nice for people who have a lot of children or what have you, and you're really loading up on trash and recycling and you want to just fit a little more in there. So we're going to talk about this unit specifically, how it goes together, how to install it. If you have any questions, of course, at the end of this, you can always call your sales rep. They'll be happy to walk you through it in more detail. Let's get started. Now, before we get started, for as much as we love this trash pullout, the one thing we've found that's very frustrating is it literally comes with no instructions, which is really why we're shooting this video in the first place. It's fairly intuitive, but you're not going to find any written instructions, so I want to walk you through what's in the box and the tools you're going to need. There's not a lot. You're going to get a bag of hardware that has 4 long, I'm going to say inch and a quarter black screws, and 4 shorter stainless steel screws. And you want to make sure you use these for the correct applications, which we'll get to in a bit. You don't want to use these black ones to mount the door to the actual front of the unit because those might come right through your panel area or some other part of the door face. You want to use those shorter silver ones. These are actually meant to hold the carriage to the bottom of the cabinet. So we'll get to that in a minute. You're going to get your actual trash pullout with 2 white pails. You can set those off to the side. And on this trash pullout, you're going to have the actual glide assembly attached to it. So our first operation is going to be to disassemble this glide situation. We're going to grab these 2 red handles and just pull the unit right off the carriage. So find a flat surface, find your red handles, and just pull. It will lift right off. Set that off to the side. You won't use that for a little bit. Now you're going to need some tools. There's not a lot of tools required here. You're going to need a cordless screw gun with a Phillips bit. Might be helpful to have a hand screwdriver just for some fine tuning, again with a Phillips bit. You're going to need a pencil and a tape measure. So it's not very tool intensive. First operation is we're going to come over to our cabinet box and we are going to find the center of this opening because that's where the carriage has to sit. So I'm going to measure the opening. I'm at 15 inches and I'm going to make a mark. I'll get to this side of the box here so we can see better. I'm going to make a mark at the 7.5 inch mark. So right here is my center. Don't need a big mark. And now I'm going to find the center of the actual carriage. So I measure across the plywood strip. It's 14.5 wide roughly. So I'm going to be at 7.25 wide is my center line. And all I do is set this carriage into the opening. Pull it tight up to the back of the front frame, so I'm right up tight, and I'm going to move this over until I have center line. Right there. I'm going to come over here and grab my cordless screwdriver and the 4 black screws. And there are 4 holes already pre-drilled in these 2 pieces of plywood, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. You're just going to use those pre-done holes, no need for pre-drilling. And run those screws in. This in and out motion is not putting a lot of stress on this unit, so you don't want to overdrive these and end up stripping out the threads. Just go until they snug. That one's a little high. Okay, so what you end up with is a drawer track with the spacing left and right is the same, and you're up tight to the back of this front frame here. And now it's a simple operation of taking my carriage and dropping it in there and pushing it till it clicks. So now I've got my soft close motion. You can see how that goes in and stops. If you need to adjust it, pull it back out here. If you need to adjust it, these wheels here, left and right, these little red wheels will move the carriage, this box, left and right if you need to do that. And you may not even know you need to do that until you mount your door. So let's talk about that for a minute. What you have here are 4 sliding tabs. And these are held on by set screws on the back side. And those screws, once you have this where you want it, you can lock those screws down and that will firm this up. You'll also have 2 slots, 1 slot vertical, 1 slot horizontal. This vertical slot's the one you want to put your screws in. So you'll figure out where you're going to put this on your door. Let me grab my door here. And you're going to figure out your elevation of your door based on your overlay. And if you're a 1/2 inch overlay, full overlay, inset, what have you, you're going to figure out where this door goes. You're going to mark it, and you are just going to run those screws through the vertical slot into the back of the door. So I'm going to do that off camera and show you in a second what that looks like and how you can adjust things from there. Okay, so I've got my door on, and we're going to show you some shots in a second here, but what I've done is I've mounted the door using those stainless steel screws to those 4 tabs that slide in and out. You want to make sure the screw is coming into the framing of the door. You don't want the screw coming into the panel area or it'll poke right through. So you have to be in the meat of the door frame or in the meat of a raised panel. No flat panel, so forth. So if you've got a flat panel, 1/4 inch plywood panel door, the screw cannot come through the panel area. It has to be in the frame. So you've got to do a little playing with these metal flanges to get them lined up. Once you're done mounting those to the door and the door is centered where it needs to be, so you've got your reveals the way you want them, there's 2 screws for each tab that lock those to the plywood box. And that will keep the door from shifting anymore. So you've got 4 screws holding the door to the box, and then the 2 screws for each tab that actually lock them in place so they're no longer sliding left to right. So it's a little fussy, hard to show on camera. It's something that's intuitive, but it's just a little fussy. You might need a second set of hands while you're doing that. Once you're done, you've got a door that's locked on with a drawer box you can adjust left and right. So if this gap isn't where you want it, you have those little red wheels I mentioned where you can go in and out. Now let's talk about door sizing. Let's say this was an inset door, and I already showed you the drawer box is very close to the edge of the opening, and your door is sitting inside this opening. You may need to remove the metal tabs altogether and run your screws to assemble the door to the box right through the front of the plywood drawer box carriage. There's just no room for the tab to even come out because there's no room to grab it. The door is hanging barely past the dovetailed edge. So inset requires that. 1/2 inch overlay may require a little fussing with these because you're going to be so close to the edge of the door. You may have a situation where the screw wants to come through in here. That's another situation where you may just want to take those metal tabs off altogether and not even use them. So you have to make some decisions based on your overlay versus inset application. The other thing I want to mention is while you can conceivably use this unit in a much wider cabinet. Let's say this is an 18 and you have to have an 18-inch wide cabinet to fit the double can. Have to have at least a 15-inch wide to fit the single can. You can't put 2 cans in a 15-inch wide cabinet. Let's say your layout called for a 21-inch cabinet. Could you use this unit in a 21-inch cabinet? Conceivably you could. You'd have a lot of extra space here and these tabs would be thrown way to the outside and you might have a harder time trying to mount them to the door. In that case, you might have to come through the panel, but what if you're doing a plywood panel door and you can't run the screws through the plywood to hold it on? You might have an issue. So you need to work with our sales rep to determine, hey, I'm doing a wider than normal cabinet for this 18-inch designed double. Can I use that for the door design I've got in my design? And they can walk you through that and kind of help you make changes if need be. But ideally, these are designed 18-inch cabinet for the double, 15-inch cabinet for the single. So as always, if you have any questions, sales reps are standing by to help you out. We'd love to talk to you and love to know how you like this unit. We've been having great success with it, a whole lot less callbacks. It's really been dynamite, and it's about the same price as the Hayflow one I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So as always, just give our sales reps a call, 888-211-6482, and thanks for watching.